Welcome back to the set of the verdict. Mick Cornett and Kent Myers. We're here every week, meeting interesting people and dealing with topical issues, and we welcome in an old friend today.
Yes, today we're really glad to have back the Chancellor of Higher Education, Dr. Glen Johnson, going to talk to us about what's new in Oklahoma higher education. There's been a lot going on. Glen's been awfully busy, particularly with the legislature in session, and we want to find out what's going to be happening.
I want to know myself. Glen Johnson today on the verdict. We'll be right back.
My path is different from the prototypical receivers.
The namesake himself, Mr. Welcome. Not recruited out of high school, not drafted into the NFL.
I'm not the fastest guy. I'm not that big.
He's the model of perseverance. He finds a way to make a way.
So let's have some fun today, huh? We're gonna play hard, we're gonna play tough.
He focuses on the kids that are not quite as fortunate as everyone else.
Way to go, Taylor.
The Boys and Girls Clubs, the Youth Football League.
80% of them are from single-parent home, so they hear a lot of negative stuff every day.
I think the coolest thing for us has been put in this weight room right here at Douglas.
It's made our kids want to be involved more and more.
Seeing them have losing seasons year after year. Next year, they win state.
For a company like Chesapeake to recognize the mission of the West Welcome Foundation, it tells me that they're committed to helping people.
My greatest hope and dream for these kids to go out and conquer everything they want. Hopefully we can push them in the right direction.
Wilsey, Meyer, Eatman, Tate. We're accountants. We do taxes, business valuations, estate planning, and consulting. And we're right here in Oklahoma, working with the owners of small and medium-sized businesses. Steve Wilsey and Stuart Meyer have the resources and the experience. Wilsey, Meyer, Eatman, Tate in Oklahoma City and Tulsa.
Welcome back to the set of the verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Myers, and Kent's going to introduce today's guest.
We are really pleased today to welcome back for his 5th appearance on the verdict, the Honorable Glen Johnson, Chancellor of the Regents for Higher Education. He was an honors graduate from the University of Oklahoma with a Phi Beta Kappa honor attached to his graduation. He did his law work at the University of Oklahoma. He served in the Oklahoma House of Representatives with distinction, and for the last 6 years of his service in the House, he was Speaker of the House. He's had a short tour at the University of Oklahoma and then went to Durant, where he was president of Southeastern Oklahoma State University in Durant for 10 years. Then in 2007, he became Chancellor of the Regents for Higher Education and has served in that capacity since then. And as I indicated, this is his 5th appearance on the verdict. Welcome back.
Well, great to be here.
Glad to have you.
All right, let's get an update. What's the latest on higher ed in Oklahoma?
Well, we've had some good news recently. In December, late December, a U.S. Chamber of Commerce report came out that our state chamber had commissioned earlier in the year, and it surveyed the 50 states in a number of different categories: economic development, education, and healthcare. 3 important takeaways for higher education. They ranked the 50 states in overall efficiency of higher education systems, and the report, Margaret Spellings, who was the Cabinet Secretary for Education under President Bush, actually wrote the report, but it ranked Oklahoma as the 8th most efficient system of higher education in the nation, and also the 8th most affordable. Affordability being tuition, housing, and all the related costs, books, all the other related costs.
Let's delve into that. How do they come up with efficient? What does that mean exactly?
Well, they had a number of criteria in terms of cost-saving measures that had been employed, whether or not states had been looking and had actually implemented performance-based funding factors, which we have in Oklahoma. And they had a criteria of 10 or 12 different factors that were overall criteria of efficiency, and we scored very well, scored in the top 10 in both efficiency and affordability. So we're always concerned, particularly with the downturn that's occurred nationally and here, that we've made an effort to keep tuition affordable. Over the last 3 years in our state, in 2009 we had no increase in tuition at all, and we're one of only 2 states in the country to do that. In 2010, we had a 5% increase, and then this last year, a 5.8% increase, where I think, as we all know, states like California, 32% increase in tuition, Georgia, 29%, Arizona, 28%.
What's driving the cost of that, Glenn? It just, how can education continue to rise like that?
Well, I think probably, Mayor, one of the main reasons states have had to do this is the decrease in state support. And again, that's been a result not only of the budget downturn, but there have been, in our state, there's two other factors, the exponential increase in corrections costs and also health care, Medicaid costs. We've got some information, if you go back to 1988, if you can imagine this, essentially 24 years ago, 75% of the higher education budget was financed by state appropriation. That percentage now is 41%. So it's declined that much.
So what I might determine sort of as a subsidy that's coming from the state government has been decreasing.
It has.
Therefore, the people that are going to school or whoever is paying that education is going to have to pay a little bit more.
They're going to have to pay a little more. Now, again, we've tried to, not only through cost cutting, but also by asking our foundations and our private giving, we've tried to ramp that up. We've tried to be more successful in bringing in scholarship dollars. Our Oklahoma's Promise Scholarship has been a great help there, which provides, a great, really a very important access opportunity for students. But even with that, and I think the good news, Oklahoma's in that low end in terms of states that have not increased tuition very much at all. And as a result, we're the 8th most affordable state in the country, which is a good place to be. And the other good takeaway from this report, Governor Fallon, has been very emphasized the importance of growth in the STEM areas, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. We were ranked 16th in the nation in job growth, specifically in the STEM disciplines. So 3 really good takeaways for higher education. We didn't ask for the report. We're certainly, when it came out, we were very pleased that objectively comparing what we're doing in higher education in Oklahoma to other states, we fared very well. So we're happy with that, and very happy to take that report to the governor and the legislature.
Talk to us a little bit about the Oklahoma's Promise.
Well, it's of course started when I was speaker, so it's something that I had some involvement in and also belief in. We now just celebrated our 20th anniversary, and it's been a great success story. Other states call it one of the most successful and transformational college access programs in the country. Criteria, if family income is $50,000 or less, if the student in high school will take the core curriculum of the 16 academic subjects, they'll make at least a 2.5 grade point average and not have any disciplinary problems. If they will do that, the promise is that the state of Oklahoma will pay for their college tuition. Now, just tuition, not fees, books, or any of the other, but tuition, of course, is a big component towards the ability to go to college. Program's work has been so successful that it started out with about 1,700 students participating. This last year, we now have over 20,000 students participating. Wow. And the legislature and the governor underscored their commitment in 2007, my first year as chancellor. They moved it from part of the appropriation process over to where, when the equalization board certifies money that's available now for appropriation, this is the first item that they fund. So literally, it's the first area funded in state government each year, and I think that underscores their belief that it's very important.
What percentage of our high school graduates are going to college?
Well, not as much as we'd like, Mayor. It's right at about the going rate directly from high school to college is about 58%.
58%. And then we have another larger percentage than we'd like that don't graduate from high school. And so, I mean, they kind of have to be put into that equation too.
They do. And what we're trying to do there, because you've hit on a very important point. We have, through a couple of different areas as far as higher education, we're trying to work as closely as we can with K through 12, and certainly Superintendent Breese's been very cooperative, and that's going well. What we've tried to do is we provide this e-pass testing for students in the 8th and 10th grade, where we go in and they test, and it gives them an opportunity to fine-tune the areas where they may need additional assistance, either in math, science, reading, to give them opportunities early on to continue to prepare for not only college admission, but the ACT and the other things they're going to need to be ready for in a year or two. We provide e-pass testing in 95% of the high schools, and we pay for that. We fund that out of our office. But also, we just have been one of now only 5 states in the country to receive all 3 federal Gear Up grants. Gear Up is designed specifically for preparing students in high school for success in college. So
What's the success of Gear Up? Because I know we've been doing that for about 10 years.
It has been very successful. We work directly with counselors, directly with our teachers. There's programs that involve parents more in the process in high school. One of the things that we found out is that 90% of our students and parents their senior year in high school say they're going to college. But as we just said, only 58% go. And the reason for that difference, some of it is financial, some of it is not preparing adequately academically. And so the quicker and the earlier we can intervene in high school to begin that preparation for success, the more likely we're going to be able to drive that going rate up from 58%. So that's where we're concentrating our efforts. And of course, we also have a student information portal where students starting in the 8th grade can log on, get information about ACT, financial aid, and again, the web now is their information tool of choice. So we get many hits every year. It helps us in online transcripting and actually enrolling for college while they're in high school. And we're trying to do all those things to help all we can to make sure they're better prepared in high school for and ready for college.
58% go. How many of those will ultimately graduate within a certain period of time?
And it depends within our tiers. Our research tiers, understandably, have the highest percentage. University of Oklahoma and Oklahoma State University, right at about 69% of their students graduated. Falls off at the regional university level to about 38 or 39%. And then, of course, at our 2-year colleges, it's lower than that because there's open admission, and so the percentage is slightly lower.
And not everyone at that point is even seeking a degree
That's
necessarily. Right. They might just be taking classes for their own betterment.
Taking classes or seeking a certificate or some other completion. But it's and I might say the governor has partnered with us, and she's taken the lead on a major college completion initiative nationally. It's called Complete College America. We were selected, Oklahoma was selected one of 29 states, and Governor Fallin has provided great leadership and basically laid the challenge out there that in the next 12 years, she's challenged us to increase our percentage of degrees and certificates by 67% over the next 12 years. What that would mean in real numbers is 1,700 new degrees each year for the next 12 years, moving us from last May we had 30,500 degrees and certificates, and she wants to move that in 12 years from 30,500 to 50,900. So it's an ambitious step, but it's one we're behind 100%. Interestingly enough, Complete College America, a year and a half into this, their leadership, and the governor announced this a couple of months ago, designated Oklahoma as the state that has the model completion plan to this point. So we're out in front. We just need to stay out in front. But it's a very exciting initiative.
Need to get to a break.
We do. Glen Johnson is our guest. I got carried away there and forgot to go to a commercial break.
All right.
We'll be back more with the Chancellor of Higher Ed after this.
The thing that has made the most sense for me is realizing that I am still an educator, and that is what I do at the Chickasaw Nation. I'm Dr. Amanda Cobb-Greetham. I'm a historian, and I'm Chickasaw. The Chickasaw Cultural Center is amazing. It is a very, very special place devoted to the sharing and to the celebration of Chickasaw history and culture. State-of-the-art technology, exhibits that are not like anything I've ever seen. The Spirit Forest is incredible, and you feel as if you have actually just walked into a forest with huge trees all around you. It's timeless, and yet it's sort of also representative of our time depth, to really just sort of reach through time and touch the past. By the end of the exhibits, you really have a sense of Chickasaw cultural and political resurgence and the extent to which we are a healthy, dynamic, and vital tribe today. Chickasaws have always been an inclusive people. This is something for the whole community and for the state of Oklahoma.
We believe in bulldogs, rams, and Spartans. But above all, we believe in students. Oklahoma's oil and natural gas industry is investing millions in education, equipping over 10,000 teachers with the nation's first energy-based curriculum. We're ensuring every Oklahoma student is equipped to lead America's energy future. Oklahoma's oil and natural gas industry, advancing our state, empowering our nation.
When you have something important to communicate, it becomes clear that there's a lot of competition for your audience's attention. So how can your message stand out and actually resonate with your audience? Legal Graphics has the answers. The team at Legal Graphics will work with you to plan, design, and even test your presentation to ensure your message will be heard and remembered. Call Legal Graphics today to schedule an appointment. The readiness is all.
Welcome back to the set of the verdict. We are visiting with the Chancellor for Higher Ed in the state of Oklahoma, Glen Johnson.
Chancellor, how's the legislature moving on some of your priorities? Are they getting some things done that you're interested in?
Well, they are. we're almost at the halfway point, which is hard to believe. It just, the 4 months goes by with lightning speed. But we've had several issues. Of course, we're always very concerned about any bills that provide for the carrying of concealed weapons on our campuses. We strongly believe that our first responsibility to students and parents is to create a safe environment on our campuses, and having weapons on campus certainly doesn't do anything to promote that, and frankly creates a more dangerous scenario. So we have been successful this year in the efforts to any bills that would provide for concealed weapons on college campuses. We've been able to stop that.
But there were some?
There were a couple of bills that were carried over from last session,
okay.
and we watched them, and they didn't get out of committee.
But no new ones?
No new bills. Yeah. Of course, there's an open carry bill, but that doesn't specifically deal with our situation on our campuses. Mm-hmm. Our top priority always is the budget. We've experienced record enrollment increases in higher education the last 5 semesters. If you can imagine, we've had 16,000 new students come into the system over the last 5 semesters, which is a historic high. We think that there's a reason for that. We think that students and parents understand that in this new economy, which is a knowledge-based economy, the data shows that over 90% of those jobs are going to require higher education. So we think everyone understands that, and that's one of the primary reasons enrollment has gone up to the extent that it has. We're happy with that. But with that, obviously when you have more students, you have a need for instructors, need for more course sections where students can graduate closer to their timetable and not take longer to graduate. And so we have a request this year for our mandatory cost increases, and that's just everything from our utility bills to our insurance and retirement, workers' comp, and the cost of doing business. But because of this growth, we have a request for $27 million in additional mandatory costs, which basically will just make us even, because those will be costs that we'll have to absorb one way or another. So we hope we can get the funding to offset that. That's our top priority. Another major priority, of course, is our endowed chair program. Program started in the late 80s when I was in the legislature, and it's a great public-private partnership where individuals and companies will, if they provide a minimum of $250,000, the state matches that gift 100%. And of course, it brings the best and the brightest faculty, lecturers on campus, and greatly enhances the educational opportunity our students receive. It's been so successful, we have a backlog of $279 million. And so and not just at the University of Oklahoma and Oklahoma State University, 22 of our 25 institutions have money in the backlog, if you will. So we've made a proposal for our legislature to look at it on a 5-year plan to look at a bond issue for multiple years, about $56 million.
So the state is behind on their matching
well,
dollars.
they are.
That's what you're trying to say.
I am.
You're being very kind.
Well,
but I just want to make it clear to the viewers who might not understand the backlog, what that means.
Yeah, well,
backlog means the state's.
Yeah.
Well, and the reason I guess I was being a little cautious, even in the downturn 2 years ago, the state provided $100 million.
Yeah.
But the program's been so successful, we still have $279 million in unmatched funds.
Yeah.
So yes, but we definitely want to work with them because they've been, during a down economy, they came up with a mechanism to fund $100 million 2 years ago, which is greatly appreciated.
And there's still the intent. The legislature has never said they don't intend to do it.
No.
They just haven't been able to for whatever reason.
We're just wrestling with the realities of the economy, and that's what it is.
Okay, compared to the rest of the country, how is Oklahoma supporting higher ed?
Well, I think they're supporting higher ed very well. We appreciate what they've done. If you look at over the last 3 or 4 years when the downturn in the economy started, Many legislatures would just go in and simply, if they had an 8% cut, they just cut every agency across the board the same.
Right.
What they've done, and we, of course, this was at our request, we've asked them to, we've showed that we've had enrollment growth, we've showed what we've been able to do in terms of linking jobs with the economy. A report came out in September that 89% of our graduates 1 year after getting their degree have jobs in the state of Oklahoma. So I think we have a compelling case as we've worked to link our programs more with what business tells us they need. It creates opportunities for our graduates to stay in this state. Programs like, certainly in all of the healthcare areas, but in engineering, wind turbine technology, aviation, we've done that.
Well, it's an
worked very
investment.
well. It is an investment.
Because our incomes are going up in the state of Oklahoma. And if your incomes go up, it's amazing how they can address the social issues on their own. So when you talk about education down the line, or you talk about health, people having health insurance on the line, you know, a more highly educated person is going to probably help those statistics down the line. I think it's very wise to put whatever they can into education.
And on an average, some U.S. Census Bureau data that just came out, over a career lifetime, a person with a college degree versus one with a high school diploma will earn $1.1 million more during their career. So certainly there's some economic incentive and there's great value in getting your college degree. So we want to stress that. And I might just say, as far as the legislature and the governor, they haven't cut across the board as they have in many states. They have prioritized, and we've been one of the priorities, which even though we've had to take a cut, it hasn't been as much as what the overall cut has been.
Do you ever get into student loan programs and those types of issues?
Well, we do. We have a college assistance program within our agency that assists students when they if they have problems in dealing with how to address their debt. We work with them on mechanisms there. We provide financial literacy information as students just start college, where they don't get into a debt situation, and give them a great deal of it. We try to be very, very involved with the student to, one, create a scenario where they don't have a problem, but if they do, then work with them to see a path for them to get through and to get out, because that's a big concern. And we compare very well nationally in terms of our percentages on student debt in Oklahoma, if you look at it across the board nationally.
As Oklahoma's economy continues to improve, slowly, but continues to improve, what will higher education do to make sure that that improvement continues?
Well, I think, again, we see that we really have a unique role in the state's economy. A report that came out last year documented that our direct economic impact of the state exceeds $3.2 billion. So we have a major role from that standpoint. But I think what we've been trying to do is frankly, not only at the university level, but our level, engage more with the Department of Commerce. We have, with Dave Lopez, on many of their instances where they have job prospects in the state, we are available, because one of the questions, Mayor, as I know you know, because you're involved in every one of these, is what is the education component? What are we able to bring to the table? And so we've tried to be even more involved from the business development standpoint in that end. Again, on the other end, as we link our programs more directly to what business is telling us they need, the percentage of our graduates that are able to remain in the state and have jobs in the state is greatly increased. The data shows, with only one exception, which is the state of Nevada, but in every other case, the states that have the higher percentage of their citizens with college degrees to a state are the states with a higher per capita income.
There you go.
It's where we need to be, and that's why we believe it's the best investment the state can make.
Chancellor Glen Johnson, today's guest on The Verdict. Thanks so much for coming on.
Well, my pleasure.
Thanks, Glenn.
Great to be with both of you.
Time went quickly. Kent and I'll have a final word when we get back.
The good life comes naturally to Tulsa, where nature's beauty is matched with an eye for aesthetics. A legacy of neighborhoods graced with lawns and landscaping and handsome homes. A place that seems to have patented an ideal lifestyle. Bank First is loyal to the quality of life Tulsa assures its citizens, to the priority placed on education, culture, and growth. Loyal to builders who transform raw land into residential charm. developers who see opportunity and add vitality to Tulsa's economy. Bank First serves both enterprise and private lives that need a loyal partner. It's how we help nurture this city's very good life. Bank First. Loyal to Oklahoma. Loyal to you.
All children deserve a life of hope and love, but sometimes they experience a life of pain, neglect, and abuse.
When that happens, each child deserves all the quality assistance and representation that can be offered in our legal system. For more information, call 23-CHILD.
Oklahoma Lawyers for Children, helping to bring hope and love back to the lives of abused children.
You will always be Mom and Dad to me.
We lived on a family farm. We didn't have other families that lived close to us.
Right.
And we wanted our kids to grow up being friends. You know? And so when they did grow up and disperse, it wasn't hard to acclimate to other parts of society or being a friend.
You will always be Mom and Dad to me.
The Journal-Record is pleased to be a sponsor of The Verdict. The Journal-Record, since 1903, the best source of Oklahoma business news and legal information. And for almost 30 years, Oklahoma political, government, and business leaders have turned to the McCarville Report for accurate, reliable, inside information. Visit the McCarville Report online.
Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. We are wrapping up a show with the Chancellor of Higher Ed for the state of Oklahoma, Glen Johnson. Boy, it's hard to toss Glen a question he can't just nail right back at you. He's very impressive on an interview setting.
He's obviously very bright and has done really well wherever he has been and continues to just excel as a chancellor. And as a result, I think higher education is probably in as good a shape today as it's ever been, not in small part due to his leadership.
We beat ourselves up over education a lot in the state of Oklahoma, but higher ed's pretty good. Our early childhood education's pretty good. K through 12 is inconsistent. Some districts do a lot better than others, and we need to work on those weak spots. But Glen's out there at the higher ed part. I'm glad he came on. We'll see you next week right here on The Verdict.
The preceding program was produced exclusively for the Cox Channel.